watching Al Sharpton, never get denounced by people who didn't like him, but they felt like, oh, I can't betray the code of the team. And thinking that's a really sad dynamic. Now I see that universally. Nobody wants, the one thing you can't do is betray your side. And first of all, that's a really divisive way to look at the world. We're all Americans. That should unite us. It no longer does. And second, it's just really small. It's really small. Like, my political team is my defining identity? No.
Yeah.
I see this I grew up in an affluent world, coastal California, Southern California. And there were a lot of gay people where I grew up. I had someone in my family really close who was gay. And, gays were always different because they were gay. But again, I'm 53, so this is a different country I'm describing. But being gay was not a political identity at all.
Right.
Like, you weren't part of a political party because you were gay. You're just gay, okay? And I knew right-wing gays and a number of right-wing gays, including my relative who's gay, very right-wing. And then there were left-wing gays, but that's just because they were right-wing and left-wing people. You wake up in the morning and all of a sudden, one of my producers, my head producer, a very close friend of mine, Justin Wells, who's gay, produces our show and is the best producer in television, I think widely acknowledged. And this piece comes out yesterday, how dare he do that? He's gay. Well, actually, Justin and I agree on politics, or we couldn't, run the show together if we didn't.
That'd be tough. That'd be tough in your day-to-day planning sessions.
Completely. But I'm reading this piece and I'm like, actually, I had to stop reading because it made me too mad. But
yeah,
I was like, why do you assume that just because he's gay that he has a certain kind of politics? Well, because that's part of the identity. I just reject that whole way of thinking. I think Completely. It dehumanizes people. It reduces us to only part of ourselves. It ignores the whole person.
Yeah.
It turns people into machines or widgets in a bin. And I'm really opposed to the way of thinking, not just what people think, but how they think. I don't like it.
And that's the underlying thing there, and how insulting that way of thinking actually is, and how pervasive it is. I'm as you're talking, I'm thinking of a number of examples. One, first of all, when I refused to support Hillary Clinton back in 2016, I was like, so many people were like, Tulsi, how dare you? You're a woman. How dare you not support this woman? She's gonna be the first female president this country's ever had. And how could you? And my response to them always was, both privately and publicly, was, how dare you?
Exactly.
How dare you reduce me to my parts or my biology or my sex and think that I don't have a brain, I don't have a mind, I don't have my own views to be able to actually look at a person, male or female, and figure out, okay, well, is this person the best person to lead the country? The answer was very clearly not in that case, but just how condescending and how offensive and insulting it really is.
Well, as always, it's the opposite of what they claim. So if you cared about women, and I'm not bragging, I don't think I'm unusual. I actually like women. I've got three daughters and a wife. I do. I genuinely
That's the headlines, Tucker.
I think I didn't grow up with them. I'm maybe more than most men. I'm really interested in women, but even if I didn't like women, whatever, it's nothing to do with my personal views. I just think if you claim to like somebody, then the first thing you do is respect their personal autonomy.
Yeah.
You don't try and force them to think something because you respect them. Even with my own children, who are my children, if they think something different from what I think, well, I love them. So I try to allow them space to have their own views, because in order to really love them as people, I have to acknowledge that they are separate from me.
Yes.
They're not just accessories. They're not extensions of my ego. They're independent beings. They're human beings. And that mindset, if you love someone, you have to respect that person, and then you have to inevitably respect their autonomy. That's intrinsic. There is no love without that. So if a woman stands up and says, I'm for all women, and that's why Tulsi Gabbard, as a woman, you have to believe this or else you're not really a woman. What's the message there?
Exactly.
I hate you, right? I'm treating you like an object.
That's exactly it.